Whenever you're ready to go, man.
Is it my turn to go this time?
Yep.
I'm going? Okay. Hi, everybody. You're listening to the Split Screen Gaming Podcast, the occasional weekly podcast where three lifelong friends correspond about video games from the comfort of their homes. I'm Holden DePardo.
I'm Chad Michaelinis.
And we have a special guest,
Josh Osborn.
Our third lifelong friend.
We have a lot of third lifelong friends on this show.
No, Josh is the best.
Yeah, Josh
He's
is
here
the best.
right now.
Wait a second. Wait. Are we... do you have another lifelong...
I didn't
Shut
say
up.
anything.
What's going on, guys?
We have a very ambitious episode for you this week.
The most ambitious episode we've done to date.
This is going to be amazing. We're going to talk about what we've been playing, the news, and we're going to have a little spiel about how Microsoft's doing. Are they doomed? Are they not doomed? Are they going to be okay? Is Microsoft going to be okay?
They're doomed.
So,
Have you guys
Chad,
ever seen Cannibal the Musical?
no, I have not.
It's a very crudely filmed... Crude, not like in like, oh my god, disgusting, but like
Is that
crude.
the Trey Parker and Matt Stone?
It is.
I think I've seen that before.
Yes, and it's fantastic. Sorry.
Long time ago.
So, Chad, what have you been playing? This is a special week for
This
Chad,
week,
by the way.
it is a special week for me because this week I played What Remains of Edith Finch.
Oh, I was thinking.
Yeah.
I was
No.
thinking for other bigger
No,
reasons.
that's the main reason.
That's the main reason.
What Remains of Edith Finch.
All right.
So I actually played a few things. Are you
so
guys familiar
sorry.
with this game?
I know a little bit about it.
I know
It
it's
is-
called Edith Finch. And
It's
that's
from
it.
Giant Sparrow. It is their second game that they've made. Their original was Unfinished Swan
That's it.
on PlayStation
Oh,
3,
I heard that
and
was
now
good.
PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita. It is great. It's not a walking simulator. It's that kind of thought and that kind of you're walking from place to place, exploring this enormous house, learning how everyone in your family died. Like not necessarily your immediate family, but like great uncles and aunts and things like that, and grandparents. But every single person that you discover how they died is a different like genre of like 3 or 4 minute experience. Like one time you're this little girl who had a dream that she was a cat flying out the window who's chasing a bird, and then suddenly you're an owl, and then that owl turns into a great white shark who's flopping around on a mountain. And then there's another one where there's a comic book, and it's this child star who wants to, who was known for her scream, and it's a horror comic book, and you're playing through this horror game. So every person is a completely different experience, which is fascinating, but it's so well done. And if you've played the Unfinished Swan, there's a huge like Easter egg type thing, a nice cool link in there for you, which is really cool that you wouldn't otherwise understand if you're just like, oh, that's another part of the story. But it's a fantastic game. Just came out on PS4. It's been in the works for like 5 years.
Wow. Did Unfinished Swan come out that long ago? So I remember that was a previous game.
They've been working on this before that a
Okay.
little bit as well.
Okay.
And this is actually the first game of 4 that Annapurna Pictures, the film studio, is they're doing 4 different games.
Never heard of them before.
Well, they're a film studio. They've done. I can't
Good
think
for
of
them.
anything off the top of my head right
They're
now.
doing a bad job as a film studio. They keep making games.
But no, it's a really, really awesome 2 or 3 hour experience. It's fantastic. Check it out. What Remains of Edith Finch. And then what else? What have you been playing, Holden?
Well, Mario Kart came out.
Oh, that's right.
So I'm
Mario
playing
Kart 8
Deluxe.
Oh my god.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It's fantastic. Mario Kart 8 was my favorite version of Mario Kart, hands down. I've been playing the Wii now for several years, so just kind of playing it again. It's really fun. I can play it in bed now on the Switch, which is great because it's portable.
Yep.
And portable in bed, not really. And then the battle mode is the highlight of that so far for me, because the last game did not have battle mode. Take the back, it did have a battle mode, but it was just on normal tracks, which is weird.
That sounds very strange.
Well, if you think about, like, I'm on the one side of the map completely, you have to race the track to
In
come
order to
get
catch
me.
up.
Yeah, in order to get.
That sucks.
Yeah, it doesn't really work too
Unless
well.
there's just a bunch of blue shells.
No blue shells in battle
That'll
mode.
do it.
Yeah, so Mario Kart out. It's really awesome. We've played a bunch of it because
Yeah.
I got a Nintendo Switch.
And that's what I wanted you to say.
I
I'm
know
like,
you
what are
wanted
you
me
so
to.
excited about? You're like, oh, this small game. I bought a
just wanted to
console
sit
this
there
week,
and
but this
blue
small
ball
little
you.
experience. Let me talk about that first.
Yeah, I got a Nintendo Switch this week. They were back in stock on Amazon. I happen to have a $100 Amazon gift card.
So why not?
And my 5-year-old niece, who lives 600 miles away, is like, I'm going to play Mario Kart, and I need somebody to play with. I was like, damn it, okay.
So I just want to point out that I'm now enemies with your niece. Because I've been saying, try to get a Switch, but ignore Holden. When your niece gets it, come on, priorities, Chad.
Yeah.
I'm very upset about it.
You don't have the puppy dog eyes, though.
That's the thing is that I do. I have really, really big puppy dog eyes, and I always look at Chad sad when talking about Switch in hopes that he'll feel bad and get one.
Yeah, so I got it a lot sooner than I planned. And I have to admit, like, we just finished up playing battle mode 4 people, Josh, Holden, myself, and my roommate Jesse, and I haven't sat around a living room like that playing video games with people having that much fun in a long time with a game.
Oh, yeah.
So... like, I got the Switch, and before it got here, I was like, oh, that was an impulse buy. I kind of regret that a lot. But then I got here, I was like, okay. Then I waited for it to download last night. And then I have Mario Kart and Zelda on there. I was like, okay, this will be okay. And then we played 8 hours of Mario Kart and Zelda today.
Yeah, pretty much. We played a lot of video games today.
Yeah. It was a good old time.
I'm
very into that Mario Kart.
It's a really, really solid Mario Kart. Just visually, it's so good looking. Anytime someone would say, oh, the Wii's not powerful enough, I'm like, I don't know. Mario Kart does as good of a job as it needs to. It looks gorgeous, and it plays super well on the Switch.
Yep.
Do you notice a slight frame rate drop, though, when you're playing with 4 people?
I do notice a slight microphone drop in you guys right now.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there we go. It's back to
okay, it's back to normal.
Say that one more time.
There was a frame rate drop in Mario Kart.
I didn't notice.
You know,
because we were winning so hard. So.
This is just my excuse for losing. No, so when you're playing 2-player, it plays at 60 frames per second, but 3 or more, it's 30 frames per second.
That makes sense. It's rendering
totally
4 versions of the world.
Totally. But it's noticeable for me, because that game is so silky smooth when it's 60 frames per second. It's amazing.
So it's not like a frame rate stutter.
No.
To 30 frames per
right
second.
when it starts, it's a slight stutter, but I think it's because I'm looking for it, because I'm used to...
Wait, when we were playing 3, was it still 30 frames per second?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's probably why I didn't notice, because I've never played it 60.
Yeah, so Josh has only seen 30
I've
frames
only
per
seen
second.
it. I was like, I never noticed anything. That explains why.
Yep.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what Mario Kart game did you play before that, though? Because you didn't have a... I
Mario
guess you
Kart
have a
Wii.
Wii. Okay.
Yeah.
Wii was a good one.
Well, the only game that we have here for our Wii is Jesse's Mortal Kombat and Wii Sports.
It's the
There's Mortal
weirdest
Kombat
game.
on the Wii?
Their Mortal Kombat Armageddon. She only plays Wii Sports or Mortal Kombat. Those are the only 2 games that Jesse
That's the
plays.
weirdest game to buy a Nintendo system for. It's like, I want to buy a Nintendo system for Grand Theft
you know,
Auto, for like God of War,
Back
like
in
these really
2007,
violent
2008,
games.
Everyone was buying it just for Wii Sports. And then she's like,
Yes.
I also love Mortal Kombat, so I'll get that.
Interesting. I did not know that Jesse liked Mortal Kombat that much.
Would not have thought that Mortal Kombat would ever be on a Nintendo system.
Yeah.
Well, it was on the SNES. It was SNES or N64. It was on PlayStation and then the another Nintendo Nintendo console at the time.
Started on
original?
SNES and Genesis, I think.
The
Yeah,
Genesis
that's what it was.
was the one that had blood.
Yeah, exactly.
SNES did
Yeah,
not.
exactly. Yep. There's no blood in the Nintendo version because they wouldn't allow it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is there blood in the Wii version?
I think so. I don't know. It's been since college since I played it.
Wow, Nintendo's growing up. That's so sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. Josh, what have you been playing this week?
So I've been playing Overwatch.
Overwatch?
I don't think there will ever be a time that I will never not play Overwatch. I love the crap out of that game. I've talked to you about Overwatch, Holden. Do you know much about Overwatch, Chad?
I have seen a couple of videos. I've never played it.
Okay.
My roommate was not very into it. But he played it. He gave it a really good college try for like a week. So I've seen a lot of it.
It's a first-person, team-based hero shooter. So you go into a match. It's 6v6, always 6v6. There are 4 classes. You got tanks who absorb a lot of damage. Some of them can deal a lot of damage, that kind of thing. You have supports who heal other characters. They buff damage, debuff other characters, that kind of stuff. Defensive heroes who are really good at like holding objectives, obstructing the other enemy team, stuff like that. And then offensive heroes who go in there, deal a lot of damage, kill a lot of people. But it's unique in the fact that every character has their own unique abilities. So, one character doesn't play similarly to any other character. They're each their own unique kind of thing, which they kind of took from MOBAs a little bit, where it's like you have all the different classes of hero. Each hero has their own thing. The only difference, however, is you can switch characters at not at any time, but when you're in spawn, you can change characters.
Oh,
so
I
there are
did not know
characters
that.
that counter other characters, some that synergize better with teammates on your team, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of strategy. On the surface level, it seems very shallow, but once you get into like team combinations and that kind of stuff, it gets super, super complex. And the thing that I like it, as opposed to other shooters that I've played and a lot of other multiplayer games that I've played, is you always have to work as a team. Always. You will fail if you do not. And B, it's objective based. So it's not like whoever gets the most kills. It's not about that. It's you are playing your role. For example, I play tank primarily. So I'm always focusing on keeping my healer safe, absorbing damage so that I can charge their ultimates, that kind of thing. But also setting up on this objective that I'm trying to protect. People who don't play on the point lose games. And that kind of thing. There's a whole bunch of different game modes, and all the characters are lovable, like, just hilarious. You have, like, Reinhardt is the guy I play a lot. He's, like, the big noble knight who's, like, boisterous and is like, oh, come out and fight me, you cowards! Like, that kind of thing. You have Sombra, who's this hacker who's super sassy, and stuff like that. And they just keep adding stuff to this game. And it's multimedia, too. They have animated shorts that go into like the lore of the world and stuff like that.
So wait, is that in the game? Because
it's not in the game.
Okay, because
no.
when I play the game, it's like you just hit start and you just start. There's no menus really from what I saw, which is interesting.
Yeah. But they have animated shorts that are absolutely amazing, like Pixar level, like animated, like super deep stuff. They have comics that go along with it.
I've heard there's also a very, very deep fan porn.
Yeah, it was like one of the most searched like Pornhub things or whatever,
Really?
which is
Yeah,
really
there's
strange.
a huge like community of people who make Overwatch porn.
That's hysterical.
And it's like this game has become so popular. You start to see like little things. Like there was this story of this like teacher who had to put a kid in a detention or whatever because they got up and shouted at this person calling them a Hanzo main. And she's like, I don't know what that means, but it sounds like a bad thing. And it's one of those like Overwatch jokes, like, oh, this guy's a Hanzo main. Oh, screw this guy or whatever. But love it. I love that game. I will never not play that game, I think.
It's Blizzard too, which means it'll get supported for a very, very long time.
Yes. Yep. And I love that game. And I've been playing Rise of the Tomb Raider. For the first time.
Yes, I just downloaded that a couple weeks ago. I haven't played it yet.
It is really good. It's a lot of fun. Especially if you've played the reboot of Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
It's more of that.
Do you have to have played the definitive one with the better hair, or can you have played the regular standard?
I would say you could probably do either or. I mean, it depends
okay.
on your hair. What do I want to say? If you're a connoisseur of hair,
Does
you might
every
want to
version
play
of
the
Rise of the
definitive.
Tomb Raider have good hair?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
Or, well, I'm trying to remember, because the one on PlayStation 4, which I am playing, is like the 25th anniversary Tomb Raider edition or whatever, so it comes with a whole bunch of extra stuff. So maybe her hair's better than
including a PSVR segment.
Oh,
I can't wait to play
really?
on
I didn't know
PSVR.
that.
Yeah, you can like her dad's collection of like museum of something, and there's a zombies mode in VR, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Zombies mode? Oh, God.
I think so.
Everything's got to have zombies, man.
I can't wait to play that.
Um,
I just wanted to say real quick, watching you talk about Overwatch, I hope someday there's a woman who talks about me the way you talk about Overwatch.
Me too. Yeah, that game, I could talk hours and hours and hours about that game. I love it so much.
So Josh, give us a little overview of like who you are and why you're relevant to this gaming podcast. What's your favorite stuff?
Oh, yes. Okay.
In life?
In life in general? Well, I suppose when it comes specifically to video games, which is ironic that I just talked about Overwatch so much, is I'm a big, like, the games I love the most are, like, narrative-focused, like, big, sweeping stories, as well as, like, the super intimate ones. Like, my favorite games are, like, The Last of Us,
Me too.
the Metal Gear Solid series, all that kind of Mass Effect, anything that has that, really, really great narratives. That's one of the big highlights for me. And I never thought I would get into something like Overwatch like I have.
Really?
I did not think that. I played the beta and I was like, that was pretty fun. Like, I'll play it with my brothers and stuff. and then got into it more and more, and it's just grown into this huge thing that I love and adore. But that's primarily where I come from. Is like, systems are great. Like, there are games that I play where I'm like, oh, this gameplay's solid, story not great, and I'll still enjoy it, sure. But I'm somebody who's more about, like, I latch on to characters and stories and narratives. That kind of stuff is where I kind of gravitate to, as well as being a huge, it probably comes from being a huge film buff person, and as well as an aspiring actor, I love those stories.
Are we the same person?
We might be.
I think we're the same person.
This is actually Chad doing two different voices. He's
a very talented actor.
He's really, really, really great. But that's kind of what I latch on to in games, personally.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Something else I want to mention that I played this week is the Prey demo.
Oh, I played that too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Oh, you guys,
so
you said you were going to
We
play.
might
You
have
were
just
going to wait,
had
you said.
opposite
I thought I was
reactions.
going to wait, but I didn't.
I thought I was.
So you guys are really excited about it. Was that good?
Yeah. I am, at least.
I think I have to replay it. I played about 20 minutes of it, and I found it way too hard. Like, the mimics were popping out of everywhere, and all I had was this stupid wrench and a glue gun, and the wrench was so imprecise. Like, I had to be, like, right on top of these things, and I just kept dying.
You get a shotgun and a handgun really quick.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think once you get into, like, the open lobby area, you get a shotgun, and then there's a room in that lobby that you get a handgun, and things become a lot easier.
You're talking about the lobby area that I...
So you get the glue gun, you walk out, and there's a big, like, lobby area.
Yeah.
I think in the hallway there's a dead security guard, and there's a shotgun on the ground. I'm pretty sure. At least that's where I
so
remember.
much easier because I got into the lobby, and then it was like every 3 seconds you hear the music, and then there's like 3 mimics just like killing you, and then it's like, cool, I get them dead, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna use my last med kit, and then you hear the music again, you're like, god damn it. And
Which the music is super good.
yeah, it is.
It's
it is
super, super good.
So yeah, I had a negative experience with it, but I think I'm gonna play it again, maybe on easy mode, and I'm gonna find that shotgun because I was just wrenching a glue gun, and it was miserable.
I had an extremely positive experience. Yeah? I played it. Originally, I was like, oh, I'm gonna wait or whatever. I played that demo. I was like, I have to have this day one. I have to
Which
play
is
this
Tuesday.
right away.
It comes out on Tuesday.
Is it, or is it Friday?
No,
I thought it was
Friday.
May.
Oh, is it Friday?
Friday.
No,
May
it's this
5th.
week.
May 5th.
Okay.
Yeah, May 5th. Yeah.
Friday. Dumb.
It is like the mysteries that so it like quickly answers a lot of questions, but then leaves you with a lot more questions that you're like, wait, how did this happen? How did I get here? I don't know how much you care about obviously it's just the first hour.
I don't
of
care.
The demo.
I don't
Holden
care.
loves spoilers.
I do love spoilers.
Excellent.
So I watched a little bit of gameplay of it online because I don't want to play quite yet, but I was kind of curious to see what it was. And I'm glad to hear that playing it is fun because I was watching going, man, this looks super unfun to play.
It's super intense.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
I was watching going, this just doesn't look, it didn't, actually the funny thing is it did not look intense. Maybe the guy was really good because the mimics would jump at him, he just hit him with the wrench, and I'm like, oh, that's it? That's all
Oh,
it takes?
yeah.
No,
No.
it was definitely like I was like,
okay.
yeah, I was struggling.
Yeah.
Relief, okay, that's good.
Because those suckers, like, when they come out at you, like, they'll hop on the wall and they'll, like, climb up to the ceiling and then jump on you. Like,
Yeah.
it's a really sporadic movement. Like, it's hard to even get at them with the wrench. Like, I found I would have to glue gun them to keep them stunned down and walk up and hit them if I wasn't able to do it while they're running around.
You have to be so precise with that with glue gun, though. And
Yeah.
there were so many times where I was like, I would accidentally shoot the glue gun like right in front of the floor, and then it would make that giant glue ball, and then I would keep shooting the glue ball into them. It's like, god dang it. It was tough.
Yeah. It's super, super interesting, and the way they present a lot of stuff is super cool. Like, the moment when you break the window and come out, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, they were like, get to the lobby, and I'm like, what's going on? And I was like, okay, I can't go through any of these doors, and then I hit the window, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, because
this is not my
so
apartment.
it starts out.
I've seen that scene before. That was actually in like the 15 minutes of gameplay they showed off when they first announced the game, where you think you're in this apartment room and you realize you hit the glass. And when you hit the glass, you realize, oh, this is all just a set. This is all fake. And then the mystery begins from there.
Well, it was an interesting moment too, because when I first woke up in the apartment, And I'm walking around, just dorking around in the apartment, and I'm like, oh, I'll walk out on the deck. And I walk up, and it's like, door's jammed. Can't get it open. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'll just keep doing my thing and go out. And then when I got the wrench, and I go back into the apartment, and it was like, it just said, like, leave your apartment or something like that. I was like, well, how the hell am I going to... Well, that door is jammed before. I have a wrench. Why don't I just try whacking the window, the glass with it and seeing what happens? And I smack it, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, you just come out and it's this dark, dark set, and like electricity is going off everywhere, and you're like, "What the hell just happened?"
I thought I was gonna be on a balcony right now.
And then you just come to realize they've been having you relive the same day over and over and over and over and over and over again. Every day you wake up, and it's February 15th, 2032.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did you play as Lady Morgan or Man Morgan?
I was Man Morgan.
I played Lady Morgan.
Oh.
Maybe that's why it sucked.
You are a gamer.
Yep. Do you know, Josh, I don't know the answer to this. Like, this is the first hour of the game is the demo.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if, like, your progress from here, if you get the game, you can just pick up where you left off?
That's why I don't want to play it. I don't think it does.
I don't think so. think so.
Enjoy playing it, you guys.
But...
Have a good time.
Anyway, so.
That first hour goes by super quick. Okay. It goes by super fast. The other cool thing about it, too, is the cleverness of the alternate history that they set up. Mm-hmm. Do you know the alternate history? So in this version of our world, JFK is not assassinated.
Okay.
He either survives or they curtail the shooter or whatever. And after that, the U.S. and Russia work together on their space initiative. So him and Khrushchev come together and they're like, all right, space race no more. We're going to work together. Yeah. And they, create this big space station and everything. Eventually something goes wrong, but then they come back to it and build it up again. But they start creating these things called neuromods, using the DNA of these aliens. I can't remember what they call them. They're like typhoids or Yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyway, and the interesting way to describe it is like they're like, hey, do you want to become a brilliant mathematician like Einstein in the matter of 20 minutes? You can implant a neuromod, and you have all that knowledge and everything. You want to be a concert pianist? Install a neuromod. You become that thing or whatever. You want to be fluent in French? So on and so forth. And there's you see advertisements and stuff like that around for it. The only drawback is when you uninstall a neuromod, it takes your memory back to right before you installed that neuromod. So I have a feeling that in gameplay, once you get different powers and you start mixing and matching, that things could potentially get very interesting when you decide, oh, I don't want this power anymore, I want this one, I'm going to take this one out. I don't know if they're doing anything with that or not. They could, they might not, I don't know how that'll work, but that has me interested for sure.
Yeah, I want to get it just because it looks like a Bioshock style
it reeks
game.
of Bioshock
Yes,
in a good way.
It has that. It definitely has that feel.
Some of the powers have intrigued me. One of them, I think, so the mimics can mimic other enemies, mimic certain items in the game.
Yeah,
like objects in the game. You can do the same thing at a certain point as well. So you could
can start to
turn into a
powers.
coffee mug and then just kind of wait and see who shows up in the room, like what enemies show up, kind of play kind of stealthy against them. That's a really cool concept. I like that.
Yeah, and I've seen too where people become a piece of paper and then slide under the door.
Yep.
To get past a locked door or stuff like that.
Because you can move around with these objects. Like that coffee mug, you could be bouncing around as a coffee mug, going to places you wouldn't normally be able to go. So that opens up a lot of interesting opportunities for exploration and kind of how you navigate around. I'm interested in the game for sure.
Yeah. And that's a part of the thing that adds the intensity of the gameplay.
Yeah.
Is you'll walk into a room and a chair will fall over and you'll be like, is that a mimic or did that chair just fall over? Or I even had an instance where I went up to a monitor and I was reading an email and I was like, oh, look at this interesting stuff. And something on the table jumped at me and it was a mimic and it attacked me as I was reading this thing and I was like, oh my god, just freaking
cool.
out. Yeah. But there's a lot of paranoia as you're walking around. Any object could be one of these things, which is really interesting to see what they play around with that.
What I love too is that if you start if you start taking on all these alien powers and start becoming an alien, the turrets will turn on you, the ones that are meant to shoot the aliens, they'll start turning on you and add another level, but then also the aliens will be like, wait a minute, this guy's not one of us, and they have this giant alien that they'll kind of send to hunt you while you're doing it.
That's cool.
That seems super cool.
Yeah, and like the more powerful you become, the more actively it hunts you.
Yeah.
Is what my understanding is. So you could have less powers and be a little more vulnerable to avoid this giant monster beast thing that is seemingly unstoppable. Yeah. Or if you want to be, a powerhouse or whatever, this thing is going to be actively hunting you throughout the game, which sounds super interesting and fun.
Yep. And terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, 5 days and we will find out what it's like.
This is true.
Yeah. I'm so excited. It's going to be great. I'm very excited about it. Do you want to jump into some news?
Let's do it! What the hell happened this week? Hold on, I'm not even on mine yet. Talk about something.
I got a story up already, actually.
Go for it.
I thought this was really exciting. So Bethesda has hinted at 2 new reveals at E3. So they have basically their invitation, and the invitation says that their show is going to be on June 11th at 6:30 p.m. is when the gates open. It's probably started like 7 or something like that. And it's a picture of like an amusement park, essentially. I'll pass it around so you guys can see it. And each kind of like ride in the amusement park is like Doom or Fallout or some sort of game, and there are 2 that are under construction.
Oh, that's so fancy.
Yeah.
Very,
What a
very
cool
fancy.
little reveal.
I've heard a couple theories about this, but I want you to.
I
finish
don't necessarily know what the games are going to be, but I don't think it's Fallout. I don't think it's Skyrim. Because they've already been shown off, but they've said they're working on, I think, 2 or 3 Skyrim-sized games.
You mean like the Blu-ray disc is the same size as the other
Yes,
one?
the Blu-ray.
Yes, yeah, okay,
same
exactly.
exact,
Yeah,
same size. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Diameter.
Yeah,
everything.
Yeah. Not a GameCube disc.
Not a GameCube disc, exactly. Because that would be really unfortunate. Because you get this wonderful game from Bethesda, and then it won't fit in your PS4. It's terrible. No, so 2 new, like, in scope of like the map and the story and all that, but it's not Fallout and it's not Skyrim. So I'm thinking it's got to be, at least for me, I'm thinking it's going to be something like sci-fi themed or something like that. I can't imagine they're going to do medieval because that's basically Skyrim.
Yeah.
And post-apocalyptic, they've already done. That's Fallout. And the other big video game trope is science fiction. So we'll do science fiction in space or something like that.
Well, let's pray.
A crazy idea I just thought of.
What?
Could it be a Western?
That'd be very interesting.
Oh, man, something to
That'd
go
be
up against Red
super,
Dead?
super cool. Here's the only problem with that, though, is I feel like a Western game would work well. And the reason that Red Dead worked really well is the combat was actually pretty solid.
True.
And Bethesda is not known for their combat. That, oh my gosh, though, no, that said, what's so cool about Fallout is the vault tech system, where like you can kind of slow the bats. Yeah, you can slow down time a little bit to shoot at certain parts of the body. In a Western, that would be awesome.
It'd be kind of like a Deadeye thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you can get just shootouts with someone. They're both like using the bats to like.
I'd be into that.
That's
I'd be
pretty
okay with
good.
that. I'm trying to think what else they could do. I feel like there's room for, and they're clever over there. They'll come up with something cool, I think.
Oh, yeah.
The other theory that I was reading was because each of them are not necessarily Bethesda in-house projects. They're also, id does Doom and
So it might not be
Prey
Bethesda
is,
itself.
Arcane, and I think they had Dishonored on there as well. Was one of the
That's
parts.
also Arcane as well.
Is somebody was saying by process of elimination they've already revealed what it is they're going to talk about, and that is Evil Within and oh crap, what's the other one that
So you're thinking
Bethesda publish?
So you think not new IP, but
Possibly,
sequel or
sequels
something?
to, because Evil Within, which makes sense, 'cause the timing with that, and there was one other one.
I know, but the under construction makes me think it's something new.
That's
it's
what
not
I
an
think,
IP.
too.
It's something they
leaning more
haven't done
towards
before.
that.
Yeah. But Evil Within though has been talked about showing up at E3.
And
So it's
it could
extremely
be
possible.
maybe one is their new IP and the other one is Evil Within.
Yeah,
Or this-
absolutely.
I wish I could remember what that other one was.
Actually, I think it's smart to go that way with Evil Within and then a new IP, because the way Bethesda goes, they'll announce this game and then it's coming out in the fall.
True.
Like if they're going to pull out a Fallout 4 again, it's going to come out in the fall, and I feel like they would do that. Otherwise, they would have talked about it last year. If it's
unless it's Skyrim Switch.
They will. Well, they already have Skyrim. They already have Skyrim on there, but I'm excited about that. Shut up. So. Yeah, I think that whatever they're talking about is going to come out in the fall. Having 2 really big Skyrim-sized games going up in the fall against each other from the same developer, probably not going to happen.
No, they wouldn't compete with themselves that way. Yeah,
But Evil Within or something like that differentiates itself hugely from a massive open world RPG.
Yeah.
So maybe. I also just want Doom 2 to show up. I know it's already on that that
Yeah.
poster. But I really want Doom 2. Doom was so good. Do you
Well,
play
and
Doom?
there-
Didn't you?
I have it. I have not played it yet. I want to
play
though.
it.
I'm excited.
And
'Cause
Chad, I know, has not played it.
was it Ibs working
I played
on
the demo, and I
It's-
watched you play some of it.
It's great.
It looked fun.
It's super fun. If it's ever on sale, like, do yourself a favor and buy that game. I hate first-person shooters. Not hate them, but, like, for me, it's not for me. That game is awesome.
Speaking of first-person shooters that are not for you, Call of Duty WE was announced.
WWE, yeah. WW2, the
Yep.
second big one.
No secret there.
Yeah.
It was going to be World War II.
Josh and I talked a little bit about this
Yeah.
just at work, and I think we both agree. It looks like Call of Duty.
It
Yeah.
does. Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
like Call of Duty.
Yeah, it's hard for me. It's hard for me to be excited, to be honest with you. Like, I want it. Obviously, I would love for it to be amazing.
Did you play the other ones?
I played Call of Duty 3, and I played Modern Warfare, the first one, and then I played Ghosts, and that's it.
Okay. I've only played Call of Duty 2, and I think that's honestly it. It's the only one I've ever played is Call of Duty 2. How unfortunate is that?
I think I played 4, a little bit of 4, and a little bit of Modern Warfare.
Modern Warfare is 4.
I think 4 is
Is
what,
it?
yeah.
Then-
Yeah. So
Modern
you played
Warfare
one.
2.
Whatever. Maybe I just played one. Who knows? What came out right after Modern Warfare?
That was World at War.
Oh, that's right. I played that one too.
Yeah, World at War.
I did play that.
one. I don't know. Maybe
I know a
only
lot
played-
about the franchise for having never played it before.
Yeah. So those are coming out. No surprise. Big whoop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, graphically it looks nice, but
Yeah.
of course it does.
The only thing that I've seen that slightly piqued my interest a little bit was supposedly there's going to be asymmetrical multiplayer modes of like one team is storming the beach of Normandy and the other team is defending the beach of Normandy, and so one team is at a slight disadvantage to the other team, and I was like, that's kind of interesting, or that kind of thing. I was like, oh, that's somewhat different and
that is
interesting,
different,
but.
yeah.
That's the only thing so far that
Yeah.
that has kind of interested me about that, really, that I can think of.
I have a lot of Nintendo stories, so
Okay.
I want to do one more non-Nintendo story.
Do
And this
it.
is
Do
a story that I only want to talk about because it's like, really, you think this is going to happen? Analysts predict that a next-gen PlayStation system will launch next year.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
No.
I think 2019 is the earliest that we will see a new PlayStation
I
system.
think-
But we'll get more into that. Also,
I think we have to,
Yeah.
if we rethink what next gen means, if it's like a Scorpio-sized update,
he's saying
maybe.
he's saying PlayStation 5.
yeah, but that might not mean the same thing. PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4 might not mean the same thing as PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 anymore.
Yeah.
We just don't know what that means nowadays.
So this is kind of going. I'll go more in depth with this when we go into the is Microsoft Doom. But usually, like, console generations will kind of escalate and escalate and escalate every year. Like they're growing and growing and growing, and then it kind of tapers off and they start to go down in sales.
Yeah.
We're actually already reaching that peak with
Yeah.
with these
Yeah.
systems. So a new console generation coming out sooner, I say, is more likely. I just think next year's too soon. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say. I think you said 2019 at the earliest.
That was me. Yeah.
That was you. That's
Yeah.
what I think as well. Because you get into murky territory there with them having announced games already for the PS4, like Death Stranding, that most likely
Yeah.
isn't coming out till 2019, 2020.
And then people have said, oh, it's a PlayStation 5 game, and Kojima said, no, it's a PlayStation
Yeah.
4 game.
And at least Kojima, he's somebody that I would absolutely take his word on that kind of thing, because
Yeah.
he's so,
Yeah, and
headstrong.
And not only that, but he has such a strong relationship with Sony that
Also, he would know.
probably already knows what the PlayStation 5 is going to be because they've been
Yeah.
talking to him. Hey, what do you want in the PlayStation 5?
Yeah.
Like they do with every developer or every generation. They talk about how they talk about developers about this
Yeah.
stuff. He is absolutely one of those developers, so he's going to have a say in it. It's again 2019. Even, what's funny about that actually is even then 2019 it's released. I don't know if Death Stranding will even be out by then.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Even then, maybe like 2020 or something like that, if we're going into that, or to your point of like it's backwards compatible,
Right.
it is a PS4 game, but it's also a
on
PS5
that.
game.
So does Sony just ride out the PS4 Pro for another 3 years? 2 years, 3 years?
I think it honestly depends on how well Scorpio does.
I think, see, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that
That's a good point.
when you think about a generation of consoles, usually it's a new type of media, not really backwards compatible, something huge in definition or something like that. But now as we're nearly everything is 4K and there's not really anywhere to go from there. I think the the word generation might go out the window, and I think PlayStation 5 might just be PS4 Pro, where it's not really that big of a gap anymore. So I think we might see something a little more powerful than PS4 Pro that could be called the 5, but it really doesn't mean the same thing as it used to mean.
Yeah. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to bring up with the story, though, that kind of brings some credence to it. This analyst is the same analyst who predicted the PS4 Pro and Slim release dates and the fact that those were coming. So he has some...
So he's a garbage man.
He's a garbage man.
He's a liar.
Sticking on PS4, you guys, PS4 has shipped 60 million units.
God.
Isn't that crazy?
That's insane.
There's so many units. And of course that is shipped, not sold to consumers.
But
The last
basically...
thing we got heard sold was like 56 million or something like that.
Yeah, but they're close to 60. I can't imagine they hold on to inventory of PlayStations for that long.
Yeah.
They must have a good idea of how many they're going to need to sell.
I'd imagine.
They have Sony, I think, again, has had like record profits. They met their goal. That's what they expected to sell, was at 60 million. But they've already announced that they're tempering their expectations for the upcoming year, fiscal year.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so like we know we're not going to sell as many this next
Which
time.
is more reason why PS5 will be coming soon.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, and it makes sense too that they're gearing more towards like PS4 exclusive games.
Yeah.
Like there are so many coming out in the near future. It's crazy and awesome.
And I mean, I also PS4 though does not hold a candle to the Switch sales that were announced.
Yeah.
At 2.74 million
Look
in
at that.
less than a month.
Look at that.
That's my news story. I think that's.
And how many games are on it?
There's actually
a lot of games?
there's a lot of games on it. No, seriously, I'm going to list all the games I've not like.
I only have 2, and I only plan to get 2 until Mario Odyssey comes out, but there are a lot out there.
So yeah, I mean, right now I have Zelda, Mario Kart. I think those are the 2 obvious ones. But I also have Wonder Boy. I have Mr. Shifty. I have Fast RMX. I have Snipper Clips. I've got Graceful Explosion Machine.
You've got 1-2 Switch.
I got 1-2 Switch.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
Yeah, how many of these do you regret?
Only 1-2 Switch. And then other games that I have thought about buying, but I haven't bought.
Did you say Snake
Oh,
Pass?
I didn't know. I have Snake Pass as well. I want to get Lego City Undercover.
Oh, I've heard that's a good game.
I want to get The Binding of Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
So there's quite a few games on there.
Yeah.
They're not big games like that's Zelda and Mario Kart.
Yeah. But
But ARMS is coming out pretty soon. Splatoon's gonna be out pretty soon after that. Mario Odyssey, Skyrim. It's got a good year ahead of it, but it sold really, really well. Their estimation was 2 million units for the month of March, and they sold they sold 25% more. Or I guess that'd be 50% more actually.
Yeah,
It would be 50%.
Just a little
Yeah,
over.
just over 50% more. That's really impressive. I think that's a great sign for Nintendo, because if we don't have numbers for April yet, but if they did 2.74 million in March, they're probably closer to about 3.5-4 million right now. So they're doing really solid, I think. What I think is interesting though in this, there's not the Wii U version and Switch version for Breath of the Wild combined. Just the Switch version sold 20,000 more units than the Switch did.
Yep.
What? That's crazy.
Because people,
I mean, that makes sense. Like, it sense in terms of, I'll get the game and I'll get the system later. Or
I think that's exactly the reason why. I think that, and also people who said, okay, I'm going to buy the collector's edition and a regular copy of the game as well.
Yep.
But I think the main thing, the main one there is what absolutely right there. People who bought Zelda and could not get a Switch. So that's an extremely good sign.
You think maybe like they pre-ordered the collector's edition, but then they couldn't get the Switch to go with it?
Yeah. Well, think about though, like when PS4 came out, I don't think people were like buying Killzone. Shadowfall just to hold on to it until they could get their PS4.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think that happened. So
Well,
this
is
is
a
really
little
strong.
bit different scenario. This is
No,
like
I know.
if Sony had held on to The Last of Us and waited a year to release it on PlayStation 4.
But that's what I'm saying. This is still a good sign. It's different. That's what I'm saying. It is different because it's a really good sign for Nintendo that there's a lot of hype and demand around that game, which will bring people to the console.
Yeah.
So
Question.
Yeah.
Coming back to this fact of Zelda came out, that's why it's selling a lot right now. Considering right now all that we know of, Splatoon, Mario Odyssey coming out and everything, do you think that will eventually go downhill when it's, Zelda, there won't be another one for 4 or 5 years?
I think it's a good question because I think what's something to note, it's selling really well. the Wii sold this well and the Wii U sold this well around this time frame. So
that's the only thing is if, and granted, they said they're going to have a big E3. I hope they do.
We'll get to that.
But that the only other thing to look forward to, as somebody who doesn't have a Switch, the only 2 games that I would get if I had one are Zelda and Mario Odyssey. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So if that remains to be it, then they might be in for
This is what I kind of think Nintendo's going to start doing. I think at E3 we'll only really hear about things that are coming out in 2018. I don't think they're going to talk about that much new stuff coming out in 2017, unless it's like Pokemon is coming out later this year, something that's not quite in their control, or it's something where we're going to release virtual console titles of these big games that are going to bring an audience, or more Wii U ports. But I don't see any really big Switch games coming out this year beyond what that's already been announced. So I think what they talk about at E3 will be next year's games. I think the trend is they're going to talk about, hey, here's what's coming out this year. There's not going to be too much of, 2 years down the line or a year down the line are going to see this game. It's going to be kind of, here's what's close in the near vicinity, and hope that kind of attracts enough people coming in. So I think this year they have it down. I think it depends on how big of an audience the Animal Crossing game is going to bring, how big of an audience the Metroid game, 2 games that are rumored to be coming, how big of an audience will that bring will determine how well it's going to sell next year. But it's not, in this case, to go back to the whole Wii U sold this well, but you can go into a store and buy one pretty easily because they overmade those. They're undermaking the Switches, which is leading to more demand. Undermaking, I don't think is actually a fair term. They sold a lot more than they planned on selling, so they're really not undermaking these things. I think the momentum is going to keep it going, and the games next year are going to ultimately determine the longevity of it.
Yeah.
Well, one more point. Sorry, and I'll.
Sure.
But the launch in March was really smart too, because they got this momentum with Zelda and Mario Kart coming out in close vicinity. 2 games that will attract people to the system. We still have Mario coming in the fall, and then fall also is where the systems sell generally better anyway.
Yeah.
So they have a strong sales in March that never happened with consoles. No console sells 2.7 million units or 3 million units in March. It doesn't happen unless it's your launch, of course. So they're starting good. I think they're going to end well too.
Yeah. The only thing that personally I'm slightly more pessimistic about is that they have Mario, they have Zelda, and Smash.
Yeah.
Outside of that, they've almost killed every other franchise, like Metroid, Star Fox. All these
Kong.
I think there'll be another Donkey Kong. Tropical Freeze was pretty well received.
They have had recent Donkey Kong
but
games.
There are these huge games that do have big fan bases that are like, why don't you make this? And it just drives me nuts that they are not listening to what a good portion of people want.
So I think that also goes to the fact that this is also kind of a handheld system, despite the fact that it's a 2DS, which we'll also get to that in a second. Yeah. Oh, I'm excited about it.
I'm not.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's
cool. I think it's dumb.
But you are entitled to that opinion, and that is an opinion, not fact. My opinion is fact.
And that is awesome. Right? Your opinion just trumps mine. All right, Mr. Show Host. I see how it is here.
Trumps.
I become Mr. Dictator over here.
So, because it's a handheld system as well, you're going to see a lot of these really big handheld franchises coming over here as well, which will also attract people to come over. So
I think that it might not because of the 2DS.
That's where I think. Let's talk about this. So they announced the new 2DS XL. Mm-hmm. They also announced that they're going to have a bunch of 3DS support going forward too, and they said there's a lot of unreleased or unannounced 3DS games we're going to have it at E3. Mm-hmm. This is where I think they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot.
I completely disagree, because this is the same behavior that they have done at the end of every single handheld gaming transition. When the Game Boy Advance to the DS came out, they released the Game Boy Micro in 2005, a year after the DS had come out.
Do you know anyone who had a Game Boy Micro?
No, but the point is that who's going to buy into a 2DS XL? If no one's buying it, then it goes to the Switch. I don't think people are going to buy it. There was a Zelda game that came out in 2005, a year after the DS, only on the Game Boy, not on the DS. So this is not unusual territory for Nintendo to be in, and the DS sold extremely well.
here's the difference that I think is the key thing in this is you release the Switch. It's a portable system that you can also play on your screen.
Yeah.
And we're 2 months into its life cycle? Hey, here's a new portable system that you can now buy.
Yeah, I think that's what they should market. They should market. This is a portable system you can take all your shit with. But they have come out and said, like, very explicitly, this is a home console that you can also take on the go.
Not only
which
that,
is different than portable system, which you can also put on your
when
screen.
talking about the 3DS line, they basically said the reason the 3DS line is still going to exist, and this is right from Nintendo's mouth, this is not like speculation, they said the Switch is about sharing experiences, and they believe that a portable system is about your own personal experiences. So the 2DS is going to fit, in their philosophy, will fit into that mindset. I agree with you guys in the sense that the 2DS will not sell as well as they would like it to.
I think it'll barely sell. I mean,
I don't know if it's
most people
barely gonna
already
sell.
have a 3DS.
I don't think they should sell it.
Yeah, that's the
I
thing.
think they should say your Switch is your portable system. You don't need a 3DS anymore.
Because why not just
Fuck
take
3DS support,
your,
put it on the Switch.
Yeah, just go 3DS. We're bringing that stuff over to the Switch. Granted, it's going to be
The Switch is still $300 though. This is $140. There's not been a portable system that's been successful at $300 or close to.
But who's going to buy that now that doesn't already have a 3DS?
Yeah.
My brother, he's just got a 2DS last Christmas. Even though the Switch is coming out, he's still got a 2DS. That's still a thing. People are still going to buy
Also,
these
that
systems.
2DS was like $99 with a game as well.
Sure. Yeah.
That's nice.
So I agree. It's not going to sell super well, but they're putting it out there because they want a lower cost offering. I also think they want to get rid of the non-new versions of the 3DS lines.
But this is the new 2DS XL.
Yeah.
I'm so confused.
It's odd.
The DS, the DS Lite, the 3DS, 3DS XL, new 3DS XL,
2DS, the new 2DS XL.
Now, they're also not to go to the whole
that's like what?
continuing
Almost 8 systems in one thing.
They're also not supporting the 3DS anymore, or into 2018 they're not going to support the 3DS anymore in terms of support, like for technical support and stuff like that. So they're already kind of pushing some of those away.
There is literally an article on IGN called "Nintendo will continue to support 3DS in 2018."
Yes, for games. But I read also that like if you wanted to call in and say I have an issue with my 3DS, not new 3DS, 3DS.
Oh, original 3DS.
Yes, they won't have support options.
Conventions, stupid. Cool.
Yeah, I think this kind of goes back to one of my major gripes about Nintendo is, so when the 3DS launched or whatever, they're like 3D, it's the future, it's here, it's now, it's so cool, and now they're like, screw that stuff. We're not doing 3D anymore. We're getting rid of that. And I'm just.
In Nintendo's defense, everyone in the world did that.
True.
Too.
No, that's
PlayStation
fair.
had the
That's
PlayStation
fair.
3D TV, and every game coming out was like stereoscopic 3D, and now they're like, no, don't do it. Nothing has 3D. The remasters of these games don't even have the 3D in it either.
But even with like the Wii U, they're like, it's this new controller, so
yes,
cool.
I agree with you on that.
It's so great. It's the future of games.
And they themselves had nothing planned to
and
take
then
advantage
it was
of
like, well, that failed. And so I'm a pessimist when it comes to Nintendo. I'm throwing that out there right now.
Yep.
And I loved Nintendo as a child, and I would love Nintendo to do well. I would love.
They are doing well.
Well, relatively right now.
They are doing well
we
right
don't
now.
know if they will be soon.
They had a great launch. They had a great launch.
They had a great launch. Let me just be... All right, so Nintendo is... Even in the Wii U era, yes, the Wii U did not sell very well. They were still profitable that entire time. They never reported losses.
So why does this not spell doom for Nintendo for you, but Microsoft's current situation spells doom for Microsoft?
Because
for you?
Microsoft has an easier play to get out of the market. They have a whole nother segment of the company to rely on. They can just abandon consoles.
But they're more successful than Nintendo in the games market. So why would that be doom for them?
Because they're also not making... Microsoft, I don't think, makes as much money off the games that Nintendo does. Nintendo also makes a shit ton of money off of like Virtual Console. They sell a lot of games per console. I don't think many people are buying that many games on their Xbox Ones. in terms of like exclusive games that are for Xbox One. That's my doom scenario with Microsoft. We'll get into this. Is more of a longer term. Like it's not they're going to be out in the next 5 years, but of the consoles that are out right now, they're more likely to leave. Nintendo will keep fighting to stay in the market because that's the only thing they do. Also, the 3DS did not sell badly. It sold, I think it's between 60 and 70 million units, probably above 70 million units now, actually. 3DS did very well.
My other point to go along with...
So they have good systems.
On Holden's side of this is they also are popular in both the American and Japanese market.
Yeah.
Microsoft, only America.
I think I'm pretty much done for news stories if you just want to jump into this. I mean, there's like... I had the 2DS Dragon Quest Babel, the new 2DS. Did you guys see that one? That's super cool. And then the Dragon Quest PlayStation 4 looks cool. That's it.
One thing that I'd like to bring out, because I haven't talked to you about it, Chad. I know I've talked to Holden about this.
Mm-hmm. When are you guys having these secret conversations?
Yeah, we talk about you behind your back. God,
I have one more
Chad the other day.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll let Josh talk.
No!
Jesus, Holden.
I'm saying I don't want to move on to news quite yet, but you go, Josh.
A game that's recently come to my attention that looks really interesting, and it could definitely fail miserably, is, I've talked to you about it, Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice.
Oh, yeah.
Game Informer just did, it was their cover story for this last month, and this game looks super interesting to me. It's by Ninja Theory, the guys who did DMC, the newest Devil May Cry, Enslaved, Heavenly Sword.
Metroid Other M? Was that them?
It might have been, so there was like Ninja Theory, which like, it was Tobunobu Itagaki ran it and everything, but then he was quickly shunned out of it. It traded hands to somewhere else, and now it's this new team. So this new team had nothing to do with that.
Oh, sorry, I was thinking Team Ninja.
Or Team Ninja. That's right. That's what I'm getting mixed up. Itagaki was Team Ninja. Ninja Theory is something different.
Yep.
Anyway, it's their kind of goal or whatever. The lead designer on it is super intrigued by mental illness and the perception of psychosis in the current society and everything. And so this game, you play as Senua, who she's a Celtic warrior whose village is pillaged and destroyed by Vikings. And she has a mental breakdown because of it, as most people would, I would think. And she struggles with psychosis. And she hears things, she sees things, and she's going on this journey to find the people who did this to her family and village and everything. But the intriguing thing is they are self-publishing it on their own, PlayStation 4 exclusive. It might be on PC as well. I don't know if it is or not, but I know it's on PS4. Digital only, $30 is the price tag for it. The tone that they've equated it to is that of The Revenant, if you've seen that movie.
Oh, yeah.
So very slow-paced, like, absolute suffering, like, stuff. But they partnered with a psychiatrist who specializes in psychosis and, like, dementia and stuff to make everything as realistic as possible. And they brought in people who, some who still struggle with it and some who have been cured of their psychosis, just sit them in front of this and say, how realistic or true is this? Is this something that's offensive, would be perceived as offensive, or in that kind of capacity? And man, it looks really, really interesting. I have a feeling we'll probably see more of it at E3, because I think they said it's coming out in the fall or close to Christmas time. And it looks really interesting, and at least when they talk about it, they're super passionate about it, and just that idea of exposing an issue through video games isn't something that I really can't think of that I've seen before, at least. So it sounds really cool to me. It's something, obviously, they're taking a huge risk.
Yeah.
But part of the reason that they are publishing it themselves is they didn't want a publisher stepping in and saying, hey, well, if you're going to have this in there, you got to have multiplayer.
Right.
Or, hey, you guys want to have this particular moment, you got to have this kind of thing. So they're doing it all on their own. Looks really good. Looks really interesting. But something to, keep your eye on. Because it could become something huge, potentially, down the line.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I hope we see more of that at, like, E3 this year.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I'm assuming so, but yeah, we'll see.
Holden, read us your last news story.
Oh, it's quick one. Nintendo says they're not going to have a big event at E3 this year. They're going to do
big E3.
Yeah, they're going to do. Well, that's the same thing they've done every year. They'll just do a Nintendo Direct show, what they've always done. So, I think it's interesting, notable.
Surprise.
Yeah, surprise.
Wait, I thought they said they were going to have a huge E3.
They're going to have a huge E3 with the content that's there.
They're not going to have like a press conference in the traditional Microsoft.
So it'll be
Sony
like
kinda
last
way.
year where they had like the streams or whatever.
Yeah.
The last, I think since 2013 they've been
I think
doing it
since
that
they
way.
unveiled
Yeah.
the Wii U and they hey, we're sorry. The
I
Vitality
think-
Center. Not even the last
So
thing.
they say the reason they do it is that it lets them be more in touch with their fans because they can then be like online seeing the reaction live as opposed to being on a stage.
Okay.
I think it makes sense, but I think the real reason is that it costs a lot less money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to take people from Japan
Yeah.
to Los Angeles.
Put
and
that money towards
all
having
that.
booths and things at
Yeah.
E3
That
for
makes
people to
sense.
actually play the
That makes
games.
sense. Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. So I think that Chad was pushing me to talk about this Microsoft is doomed thing, which I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm going to clarify. It's not that Microsoft is doomed. I think that the message to take from this is that this year is super important to Microsoft. If the Scorpio does not do well, then I think that they're in trouble. So we'll kind of have to see what the reaction is going to be. But I have some numbers. You're about to say something, Josh. Yeah?
Oh, I was just curious as to what your thoughts of the Scorpio is.
Oh, what we think of the Scorpio? So we've talked about this in
I think we're both pretty much in agreement on this too.
the Scorpio.
Yeah.
I want to see what it looks like, but I think that I guess my concern is that it seems really powerful and very the whole the custom board based on the imperfections of the CPU, and I'm like, it sounds really expensive.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned that this is going to be more than $400. I think $400 is the sweet spot. If they don't hit that, not going to be very good.
But the teraflops.
But the teraflops.
But the teraflops are going to matter if a developer is going to make a game multi-platform and it's going to be on PS4 Pro anyway. Those extra 2 teraflops don't mean shit. It doesn't mean anything at all. So I'm just not convinced this is going to be a good hit for Microsoft.
Yeah, I pretty much just come down to, cool, show me the games, show me why they matter on Scorpio.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
E3 needs to be for
That makes
Scorpio.
sense.
The guys who Digital Foundry who got to see the Scorpio and showed off the specs and all that ahead of time said that they got to see the box and that there are big surprises that we have no idea about.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that would be. It's going to be a system that plugs into a television and has a controller.
Yeah.
Like what gigantic
But
surprises?
you can run your cable through it.
Do you think they'll
Oh my
have
God.
a VR element?
Yes.
They said they're going to support VR. They've
Oh, they
also
did.
said
Okay.
that
I
they
didn't know that they
aren't
said
going to
that.
be specific to one device. And I think that means that because they don't want
Interesting.
to have one specific partnership. I think it's going to be more plug and play like Windows 10 is. 'Cause technically, Xbox runs Windows 10.
Right. So
that's a
it would
smart
work
move
with,
on their part.
It would work with like the Vive and the Oculus Rift.
That's what my
and
assumption
that kind of
is
stuff.
But it won't work with the PlayStation VR, which I know is that. And I don't mean that as a joke, but I mean that as that's the cheapest VR headset that you can buy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the Oculus is definitely not, and the Vive is absolutely not the cheapest.
Yeah, was
Although-
Oculus like around 1,000?
I think
Vive
it's-
is like
I think it's
Oculus is
600 now.
600 for
Oh,
the
okay.
Oculus and the touch controllers, which is not. I mean, if you're getting PSVR, you got to pay $500 to get the headset, the camera, the Move controllers.
Mm-hmm.
That's not too far away.
Yeah.
As long as
More
the Scorpio can run it.
install base for PlayStation though.
That's true,
It's
yeah.
just it's easier.
Yeah, so we're both pretty much on the what does this matter? Of course, with third-party games, it's going to be lowest common denominator, so it's not going to look any different on Scorpio, or
Right.
maybe very marginally different.
Yeah.
But the first party is where they're going to push that thing to
Yeah.
its limits,
Like,
and
I'm
that's
sure-
what they don't have right now.
I'm
is
sure the Halo
first-party
6 games don't look great, but that's not coming until next year because they've already
Exactly.
said it's not coming until next year. Crackdown, they've already shown it off. It can't look that much better on
Should have
Scorpio.
2 years ago.
Yeah, they showed it off a long
Jesus,
time ago.
yeah, they did.
And let's see, they have practically no other exclusive games.
Yeah, so this is where I think they're holding their cards close to their
They have
chest. and they're just
Scalebound.
gonna freaking explode at E3 and say,
Yeah.
"This is all the shit that we've been hiding from you."
They need to do that. But here's the thing though. I think if they're taking that mentality of we're gonna wait to show off all this stuff to make the Scorpio launch better, it basically means because they know the Xbox One is hopeless.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah,
they
it
talk
is.
about these games as like this is for Xbox One, this is for Xbox One, it doesn't mean as much when it gets announced later on. Also coming to Scorpio, it'll feel like it's all tied together with the Xbox One branding, which I think is at this point cursed.
Do you think that
Or
though
tainted.
makes the Scorpio somewhat of a footnote or like a subtitle to a title? Like this is coming out on Xbox One and the Scorpio. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it'll have as much, which would be stupid if a game was exclusive to the Scorpio. But just
They
saying
said they're not going to do that.
But saying like this is on Xbox One and the Scorpio, I feel like that wouldn't entice me as much to get a Scorpio if I already have an Xbox.
Exactly.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like for example, the PS4 Pro came out, and I was like, that's cool. Maybe someday if I have a 4K TV, I'll think about it.
Yeah, the only reason that I'm considering is for VR.
Which that also makes sense,
but
yeah.
But also, it was also the same price as the PlayStation 4 was at launch, so it wasn't this astronomical thing. There were rumors saying that this could cost up to $700. I don't believe that one. But the fact that there's talk about it going up that high means that there's smoke, there's fire. The executive team of Microsoft is still figuring out what this cost is going to be, and it's at the higher end of the spectrum. So not looking too forward to that. So I guess I have my numbers up here. I basically made a list or charts of each game console when they launched, which started as like year 1. Like this is the first year of that console, then year 2, year 3, year 4, and kind of compared them for their launches. Because like Xbox 360, Wii, and PS3 did not come out the same exact year. But for the sake of this, like seeing year 1, year 2, year 3 to kind of see how they stacked against each other, kind of year by year, I thought was interesting. And there's a pretty obvious trend. I'm going to pass it around so you guys can see. But essentially, let me pull up. So I'm going to show you guys like Generation 7 first. You want to just pull it up there?
Generation 7 is
current? is last generation. So that was 360, PS3, and the Wii. The Wii outsold everything.
Yep.
But again, like the PS3 and the Xbox 360 were very close neck and neck. They were about 50% market share almost every year. So it's a pretty even split each time. What's I think important to note about that is because the PS3 caught up, or was sold a year later, they caught up. So they had a better momentum over that time frame. They sold more consoles in a shorter time frame.
Yes.
So the momentum was there for Sony.
This is so nerdy that you made this spreadsheet. Just in your free time, I'm going to make a spreadsheet comparing...
I like numbers. So I thought that was notable. That was interesting. I'm going to pull up Generation 8. They're still seeming in the graphs I have here, showing off like the trend of it going up. But you'll kind of see that Xbox One is doing a lot worse than the PS3. Like their trajectories, PS4's trajectory is a lot higher, rising than the Xbox One's. And their market share is at 33% as opposed to 50% from before. So they've lost a lot. It seems like there's more consoles being sold in total than there were in the last generation, year on year. Most of those are going to PlayStation. So they're collecting a bigger market of gamers. And I guess the point that I'm looking at, and the way I'm looking at it, is that online gaming had really started to become a thing with 360 and PS3, but because it wasn't as important on PS3, I don't think people cared as much going into this generation saying, oh, I got to keep my trophies, I got to keep my achievements, I got to keep my gamer score. I think it's going to matter a lot more this time around. And since that momentum is already built up with PlayStation, even from PlayStation 3 going into PlayStation 4, the momentum was already better than Microsoft. They're just positioned a lot more strongly. You have a look, Chad.
Yeah, one thing I do notice here is that I think PS4 is the exception to the rule in this scenario.
You think?
Because if we look at year 4 in Generation 7 and year 4 in Generation 8, it's about the same number of consoles for Microsoft Xbox One. Mm-hmm. And I think PS4 is for some reason just taking off crazy well. I guess because that's
it's because Microsoft's attracting the same people that are kind of coming in.
Yeah, it's that same
and PlayStation is expanding
Halo,
to new
Call of Duty.
Yeah,
exactly. PlayStation is expanding to new gaming franchises, new types of gamers coming into that. Where since they're attracting more people coming in, they have it's all about the advantage going into the next generation, and they have that advantage because they've attracted more people. They've gotten kind of good karma with gamers, if you will, just from the Xbox One fiasco when that was released, and Microsoft hasn't recovered. Mm-hmm. So again, like it's not that Microsoft's doomed, but they're in this situation now where they have the same users really they've had the entire time since the 360 era is what it looks like. They're not building it up too much. They don't have exclusive games to differentiate themselves, and they're talking about releasing this really awesome, expensive console later on in the year. If that thing flops, I just don't see it doing too well. Mm-hmm. Now, in talking with you guys, I before the podcast, I'd mentioned that Xbox sold less consoles last year than it did the year before, which seemed bad because that's when Xbox One S came out, which that should have increased their sales. But maybe it's because Scorpio was coming out next year, people were holding off.
Yeah.
But on top of what changes that, though, PS4 had the same decline, practically the same percentage in decline, meaning that the whole market just kind of went down. So that means that the PS4 and Pro and the PS4 Slim also didn't attract a whole new generation of people coming into the system. So we're kind of at that peak now.
Yeah.
So maybe PS5 coming in, next year isn't super unrealistic. So again, it kind of goes back to the whole thing again. Scorpio is coming out a year before PlayStation 5, just like 360 came out a year before PlayStation 3. PlayStation 3 didn't have momentum, but got it up pretty quickly after a bad launch. PlayStation has that momentum now. I don't know. To me, it looks like they're going to do a lot better if they can sell a cheaper console next year, if that is true. But all we know right now is that Scorpio is coming out this year, and they don't have the momentum. They don't seem to have games.
I don't think,
and it's in. I guess in the long term, if that continues, they're not getting new. They're not getting new gamers coming in. They're not selling as many consoles. Developers aren't going to want to make games for them, and that's just continues that downward decline.
Yeah, I don't think that they are doing poorly by any means.
I was they're doing poorly.
No, they're as we kind of compare those side by side, they're on track at the 360 generation, which we considered a success at the time as well.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that there are two things that might happen. One, Scorpio comes out. It doesn't do well. They don't have a bunch of games for it, and then it flops, and they have to go back to the drawing board and say, all right, whatever's next, coming out 2-3 years from now, we've really got to radically change everything about it. I think that's scenario one. And then that next generation, that's the one that it really all hinges on, if they decide to stay in the game or not. I think the second scenario is Xbox Scorpio gets announced, and people see, okay, that's a super spec'd out version of something that I don't need. I've been kind of waiting to see what it is, and I realized, you know what, Xbox One S is enough for me, and there'll be a surge in One S's being sold. And then hopefully they'll have games to support it as well, and they'll just kind of be right on track to where they need to be. They won't. There's no way they're catching up to PlayStation this generation.
No, and they know that, I'm sure.
But then either way, I think they radically rethink the next generation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
One of them makes them have to be like, this is make or break, or we're either staying stagnant or we're growing.
Yeah,
I think those are the two scenarios we'll see come out of hopefully right after E3.
Yeah.
I think we're in agreement then that they're not doomed right now.
Right.
But if they don't get their act together, they could be, depending on what happens.
And I think the other problem that Microsoft runs into are similar somewhat to Nintendo, but different, are the games.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Nintendo has super strong first party, like, everybody wants Zelda. That came out, that was a huge uproarious thing.
Yep.
PlayStation has so much. Recently Persona, Horizon is the first big explosive original IP that we've seen this generation, and totally deserves it. I fucking love that game.
Neo, which was exclusive,
Neo.
smaller audience, but even Resident Evil, it's on both systems, but it's on VR on PlayStation. Like, it is better on PlayStation.
Yep. And even this year, rumors that God of War, Spider-Man, and possibly Days Gone are all coming out this year. Maybe. If not this year, early next year. Those are huge, huge games, and drastically different, They don't hinge on, like Microsoft, these shooters. Their successful franchises are Halo, Gears of War, and I think that's it.
I think what really hurt them, too, is that their Xbox One installations of both of those things were, if Gears of War 4 came out and went, Halo 5 came out and did not review well. People didn't like it. It might have had the best multiplayer, but the story-wise, single player, all that kind of stuff, people panned it. I think so. They're two things that they rely on. Tanked.
Yeah.
Call of Duty now has partnerships with PlayStation for exclusive content.
And the games they had that were new IPs that were supposed to attract something unique, Recore didn't get reviewed well or sell well. Since Overdrive reviewed very well, I don't remember it selling super well.
Crazy. But even Insomniac said they're like, with or without Microsoft, Sunset Overdrive is continuing. So it sounds like they're abandoning Microsoft entirely and just probably going multi-platform.
Yeah.
If not, Sony's got a good relationship with them for Spider-Man. Maybe they just move in, get cozy up to Sony,
So they've just got to work on those games.
Yeah,
it wasn't as big of a thing. Like, having exclusive first-party games has always kind of been Sony's strong point.
Definitely.
Especially last generation. And
it's been the strong point of any successful console.
Yeah.
Also a good point. Yeah. And the thing with Sony, too, is they have stuff already come out fairly soon. They have stuff coming out super soon. Stuff that's down the line and just way, way, way down the line that they've already, talked about. I mean, we have The Last of Us 2, which that initial
Electric
trailer just oh man, had shivers up and down my spine.
I can't wait for that.
Cannot wait. That's probably, 2019?
Now that Zelda's out, that's my
Probably.
most anticipated game going forward, is that game.
Death Stranding is another one that's in the pipe. People are super excited about it, and for good reasons, coming out way down the line. But we've got, like I said, God of War, Spider-Man, this kind of stuff. Sucker Punch is probably working on something crazy, maybe another Infamous, maybe something original, we don't know. That's also huge. Again, it's Nintendo, all we know is Zelda just came out, Mario's down the line, probably some kind of Super Smash or whatever. Microsoft, they have a Halo and a Gears down the line. That's it.
Yeah.
And that we know.
Most recent installments didn't do well.
Yeah.
I think that's what kind of maybe differentiates Nintendo and Xbox in those two scenarios, is that Nintendo, regardless of their console sales and things like that, their core titles that they release are always smash hits.
Yep. Unless they're like Star Fox Zero.
Unless they're Star Fox Zero or a Kirby game.
or something else. But if it's Mario or Zelda, it reviews amazingly well and sells super well.
Yep.
So, good on them for that, for sure.
Yep.
But, yeah, Microsoft, it's just... And I heard decent things about Gears of War 4. Some people enjoyed the story and stuff like that, but it wasn't explosive. It wasn't amazing.
I also heard it's just more of the same. Like, it's just Gears of War. Yeah, it looks better.
Exactly.
Yeah, so they got to really shake something up in terms of the content, because I think that's one of the most important things is content. What can I get on this system besides the system itself?
Well, there's always an innovation point for these companies. They have to innovate in some way to differentiate themselves, and I think what happened with Microsoft is their innovation was one entertainment device for everything. You have your cable plugging in here, as well as all the games, and that innovation point plummeted. And I was like, well, fuck, we've got to find something else. They just haven't found that next thing. Yeah, without the games, it's not gonna turn out very well. You were in our chat about Scorpio announcement. You had mentioned that maybe they're not going to have exclusive games, but they'll have game systems that can only exist.
Yeah.
So
kind of like the Nemesis system.
Exactly.
Where
Exactly
on the next gen systems it had it, but the 360 and PS3 didn't.
Exactly the scenario Chad brought up. Yeah, and I think that's the kind of thing that they should be looking for, because I don't think they're going to have the exclusive games. It's just not going to happen with their install base. So they might be able to get some exclusive content inside of there that, because of the power of this console, could only exist.
But who's going to be developing for that? You know what I mean?
They can fund it with their own money,
right?
And push it that way and hope it attracts more people.
But I can't think of Halo or Gears of War that would have some kind of crazy system that could only exist. Something as complex as the Nemesis system.
It just kind of shift gears. I mean, Bayonetta 2 came out on the Wii U. That wasn't because they really wanted to make a Wii U game.
Yeah.
Right.
It's because Nintendo gave them a pile of money and said, please make this on Wii U. You've already made up the money that you would have made up otherwise. That's what Microsoft has to do. They have to just give these developers piles of cash and say, please, we need it right now.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is true or not, but from what I've read and stuff or rumors is Microsoft is super difficult to work with. Sony is very much here's the money, you kind of do whatever you want, we'll come in whenever you need us kind of thing. And that could be completely wrong. I don't know, but at least it seems that way, especially with Hideo Kojima, coming from Konami and everything, kind of being freed from that, and Sony's willing to take risks on weird shit like The Order. They were this sound, it's super cool concept, and everything. We'll throw a bunch of money at it. It failed, granted, but hey, it was interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I played it. I was like, this is a fine game.
To bring it back to the whole, like, Microsoft is quote unquote doomed.
Sure.
What sales figures would this have to meet in order to do better? Would it have to be like, oh, this is now... It's not going to compete with PS4, but like, would it have to be at that level? Would it have to stay consistent with the kind of, you know, trajectory that Xbox One's already been making? Does it have to do better than that trajectory? Like, because if it just meets where Xbox One has already been, is that a success for them?
I guess maybe that makes the higher price point more justified because they'll sell less units. But make more money off of it, maybe?
They've even said they expect more people to buy the Xbox One S over the Scorpio.
Yeah.
I think I think that's a quote from Phil Spencer.
So I'm sure the expectation is it won't sell maybe as well, but if it's in maybe a, 33 to 25% margin of One S?
I don't know about the margins and all that, but like, would Xbox One sales, that current, you know, is that enough, do you think? To say, like, oh, they're good? Because we'll know if it sells less that they did bad. But if it kind of keeps the same pace...
Yeah, I think that's totally fine. I mean, compared with previous generations of consoles, whether it's the 360 generation or the Xbox or Dreamcast, Sega Genesis, all that kind of stuff, they're fine. They're healthy. They're at a good number right now. Even if that's like all the generation did, it would be kind of on the bad end, but this generation is not over. Yeah. They've still got room to go. If they were hovering around 13 million units like the Wii U, that's bad.
Yeah.
But that's where they say,
Nintendo's great. Nintendo's always good.
That's where they have to freak out and say, we have to change something. Yeah. But even if they do kind of taper off or meet that or not quite meet it, I think that's a fine standard to hit for this generation.
So you keep bringing up that they have to do something. Nintendo, I think you said about Nintendo, like the Wii U didn't do well. It's like, okay, well, what gimmick are they going to do next time that'll convince people to buy the next system? But like, I guess what does different mean? Do something different mean? Because I think do something different means have more games, have like better exclusives.
I think it has to be developer relationships, like we see Nindies coming out on the Nintendo Switch, and they've changed. Nintendo's completely kind of done a 180 with indie developers. I think it has to be those relationships with game developers.
I agree.
That's the change that needs to happen. Whether it is, I don't know whether it is throwing money at them for exclusive Destiny and Call of Duty stuff that Sony has done, or whether it is making things easier to publish and giving people more promotion for indies on Xbox, or whatever the next thing is. But I think it's not necessarily a hardware thing that needs to change, but it is.
If they're going to compete with
the industry,
if they're going to compete with Nintendo, I think going after indies is going to be smart. Nintendo, I think, will succeed with Switch because between the big gaps, big games, they're going to fill it in with exclusive indie games. Yeah, I think that's going to be the appeal of the Switch because they can handle those indie games pretty well. Take that away from Nintendo, you have a lot more market coming to you. So I think it might be smart for them is to approach the indies and have like a
if you think about it right now, indies great on PlayStation 4, doing well on Switch, Steam obviously. Xbox is kind of the only place where you're not seeing anything.
And why we're really successful for them is that buy it on Xbox One, you have it on Windows 10 as well.
Yeah.
And they can kind of start to take some of that Steam market away that way too. True. So they actually are positioned kind of well for that.
Oh shit, I had a thought. Oh, I got it. Do you think recently, I think this may be the case for Xbox and Nintendo as well, that isn't so much on PlayStation. PlayStation's kind of done this a little bit, where they focus too much on the hardware and not enough on the software in the games. That a focus has become more on the controller. You got motion controls. It's a cable box. That kind of thing. Whereas Sony, pretty consistently, it's just been, this is a console. This is how powerful it is. Here are all the games. And they have this vast plethora of really great quality games. Whereas, Nintendo has some really, really great ones. Microsoft has been consistently, like, good-ish, great, kind of lingers in there. But it's always been about this hardware. I wonder if that's maybe in the future they need to focus less on what their hardware is and focus more on what content can you get.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the the focus that they need to shift to.
Yeah.
I think so.
I don't think a lot of people care about the power or anything. You know, when I
I
bought,
don't think so as much anymore.
you know, like when I bought my PlayStation 4 originally, or when I got it rather, like I was like, I got it because I knew what games were coming out on it. The fact that it was the most powerful console on that at that time was tertiary to me. I was like, oh, that's a bonus. Like, that's cool.
Right.
But it's not the reason I bought that console. It's not the reason that I'll buy a Scorpio if I were to ever buy one.
Totally.
You know?
The only thing like makes me want to buy an Xbox is this one exclusive game that's on Xbox called Below. It's like it's like a $15 game. It's
Is that
not
the Lovecraftian one?
No, Below is it's a 2D game actually, where you come into this island, and kind of like a Dark Souls way. Once you die, like that's it. You have to start from the beginning of the island and kind of go like keep kind of going in and go. I guess you're going below the island into like the cavernous world below.
Oh, so it's kind of like a roguelike.
It's a roguelike game,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
It looks gorgeous in the art style, and I'm like, I will buy. Like, I want an Xbox so I can play that game. They need to look for those unique experiences that. Yeah, they could run on a Sony, but PlayStation, but they're just not there.
Not there.
Yeah.
They're not there to play. So they got to look for that kind of stuff. But again, like I think we're kind of talking in circles on this. They don't have those exclusive games. So I think we're kind of creating this imaginary scenario where, like, yeah, but if they had content, like it'd be worth it. We would have seen this content or had heard word of this content in rumors or something by now. We have heard nothing.
We've
Yeah,
got
we've
6
heard,
weeks.
Yeah, we have 6
6
weeks.
weeks.
Do we even have 6 weeks? It's like a month now.
Pretty much. I mean, May is
Second
tomorrow.
week of June, yeah.
Second week of June. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So we got 6 weeks then. It's. I'm sorry. I don't believe this is gonna happen. I think they will announce the Scorpio. They will show off the Scorpio, and they will say Crackdown and all that coming out this fall. And I really think that's their hope. Is that's what's gonna sway it. I'm just not convinced. I think we're living in a fantasy world if we think that like these things could happen, but they're not going to because we've heard something about it already, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's
I think
not happened.
Crackdown's my game. That if I had like the game that I am excited for them is Crackdown. Because I love that first Crackdown. I never played the second one, which is supposedly a huge letdown. But
I think you did right then.
I fucking love that game. Crackdown was so good.
How much have we seen in Crackdown 3 though? Next to nothing.
Really
But we
nothing.
saw the power of the cloud.
We saw the power of the cloud. That's that. I'm convinced. Never mind. I'll take back my point about Crackdown 3 not being good.
Yeah, I think it was like a brief little trailer. I don't think we've seen any gameplay or anything.
Well, they showed one demo. It wasn't at E3. It was a couple months later. I don't know. It wasn't Paris Games Week. Something like that. Where they're like, hey, this is how the city looks when you destroy it in Crackdown. And then this is when you're connected and use the power of the cloud. And there were so many more effects and things like that.
Oh.
But it wasn't much.
Okay. Interesting.
Are they going to just say now, the power of the cloud's gone? If you played on Scorpio, then you'll get all this extra, destruction
There's
stuff.
so much more particle
The
effects.
cloud is now built in with Scorpio.
It is the cloud. You got a cloud in your living room.
Do we talk about what they're going to call the Scorpio? It's not going to be called Scorpio. I think we had like a little like theorizing on Scorpio. Do we talk about the name of it?
I don't think so.
I think they call it the Xbox Elite.
Oh, that makes sense. Well,
think
that's
that's-
in line with their Elite controller, like
I think
that kind of thing. The Xbox Elite.
that's my prediction. They're
Yeah.
going to
They
call it
also,
Xbox
the
Elite.
360 had an Elite
They did
as well.
So it's
Oh,
within
it's
their
a naming
nomenclature.
Yeah.
Interesting. Xbox Elite. I can see that. Can't think
Also,
of anything
they
else.
can't call it-
so.
Was it?
The
Also Halo.
Also Halo, yeah.
The
The
Xbox
Elites and
Halo? the Elite.
They
The
can't-
aliens. Yes.
They
Sorry.
can't
I
call
was
it.
like, what?
They can't call it Pro.
No.
I think it'd be hilarious if they called it the Super Xbox. So they can't do
Get
that.
super.
Yeah.
What if
Super
they call
Xbox
it the
One.
new Xbox One S?
Oh, God.
They still sell Xbox One S, and now they sell the new Xbox
It's
One
still.
S.
I still feel like the Scorpio is just an improved version of the Xbox One S. that's literally what I
That's what the essence in what Xbox One X stands for. Scorpio.
Scorpio.
Xbox One Scorpio.
Yeah.
You guys,
It's
surprise! You already have it.
Everyone's like so let down.
Oh, or they're really impressed. Like, wow,
Really?
I
Wow.
got this before it was, announced.
And I never even noticed the
Send
power.
you
Yeah.
several flops over the internet
So
to
many
unlock
flops.
the power of the cloud in your Xbox
Yeah,
One S.
you can just do that. You just email someone some flops.
It's just the cloud. They're like, hey, here's the cloud.
Yep.
Y'all got Scorpio. Congratulations.
Maybe they will show off more of this cloud infrastructure they kept talking about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know
But
I don't know how that can do a thing.
Do we have any last thoughts on?
No, I think that pretty much wraps up that discussion. We'll
Yeah.
see you back in 6 weeks. See what happens.
Yeah.
We have a couple of subscriber interrogatives that Holden found from readers.
I found
listeners.
one.
One thing in there. What is it, Holden? What did you
Actually,
find?
I found. I mean, I found two actually. Let me pull them up right now. Should be in the weekly notes. So I guess E3. We're kind of on the topic already. What's one thing that you want to happen in E3 more than anything? It could be complete dream. It can be based on fact. What's one thing you want?
So here's something. We're gonna have an E3 like predictions episode proper here in the next few
This
weeks.
is not a prediction. This could be outlandish. Like they will announce the release date of
man.
Kingdom Hearts 3 and it comes out this
Gross.
summer. Like something ridiculous like that.
If it comes out at all.
I already think that we're gonna see something weird hardware wise from Sony. You know, like whether it's the PlayStation 3D TV or the Vita TV or something like that. I would love Vita 2, and it's really just a PlayStation Switch. I would love to see something like that.
Oh yeah, I'd be on board with that absolutely.
And makes remote play like incredibly easy and successful. You can maybe save locally PS3 games to it or PS4 games. Like,
Oh my god,
I
PlayStation
would-
backwards compatibility would be so cool, man.
Yep.
And
That's what
it
was.
has a Blu-ray drive, so you can on the go play your PS4 games.
There you go.
I think mine's actually Sony related as well. They will not talk about Last of Us Part 2 at all, I'm
Probably
sure.
not.
No.
We won't hear
And
about
they
it.
shouldn't. Thank God.
Yeah.
They won't, and then they shouldn't. You're right, but I want to see a gameplay demo of it.
Yeah,
I just want to see
I
what a
could
level
see
of this game looks
If
like.
we were hypothetically to see anything of Last of Us Part 2, which, dear Lord, I would lose my shit if that happened, is another kind of trailer of some kind. But yeah, I would totally echo that. Like, I would love to see some Last of Us Part 2 something.
Yeah.
But they'll probably focus on Uncharted Lost Odyssey,
Yes.
which also I'm really excited for.
Yes.
God, Chloe and
yeah.
Nadine. I'm excited to see what those girls get up to.
I'm excited for that too. I can't wait for that one. But Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah,
Oh man.
yeah.
It's going to be great.
It's really cool to listen to interviews with
On
Naughty
PlayStation
Dog about
Switch.
talking about that kind of stuff. Like, I was watching an interview with the president of Naughty Dog, and I guess Neil Druckmann came in. Like, the way he describes it, he like burst into his office in a rage. And at first they thought Last of Us is done, and he like came up with, he's like, this is it. We gotta continue. We gotta keep going, or whatever. And he's like, okay, like let's do it. Or whatever. It's really funny, but it's just like their passion for not only like Uncharted, obviously, but The Last of Us is so strong. And even just Troy Baker and is it Ashley Johnson? Is that the voice actress for Ellie? Like how passionate they are about those characters and their story and everything. Man, I'm so excited.
Oh, can't
Also,
come soon enough.
Another thing I would be excited to see, which has been rumored, is we'll get another Death Stranding trailer featuring Emma Stone.
Oh, yeah.
Who may also
Yeah.
be potentially either
Really?
her
Emma
heroine
Stone's gonna be
or
in it?
Yeah, you
or
didn't. This was a couple
villain.
months ago. There's
There's like a
Wow.
screenshot of her with like her eyes are all blacked out and like in like a
Oh,
military
very
uniform
cool.
and stuff. Like
Yeah.
I was like, ooh,
Wow. Interesting.
yeah.
I'm sure it's something Death Stranding
I'm
related.
sure,
They'll
yeah.
tease
I'm
that
sure we're
for
going to see
years.
something, Death Stranding related
yeah.
every month for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And no one will have any idea what any of it means until
and
the
but
game
people
the
will pick it
game comes
apart.
out. Oh yeah.
One of my favorite things about that game is that Hideo Kojima has said the game has already started. Like, people are like, what's this game going to be about? And like, it's already started. This is part of the game. And he wants to like integrate social media and things like that into it. But like, apparently if you play the 2 trailers that they've had so far side by side,
Yeah.
the baby disappears from one as it shows up in the other one. And I'm really interested to see, like, I want 3 years from now he'd be like, oh, by the way, he says something, and you're like, oh shit, that makes so many things just like click in your brain.
Yeah.
You're like, I have been playing this
There-
game or experiencing it already for the last 3 years.
There's an insane. I would actually. There's more hype in terms of this being a revolutionary game for me than there was for like Zelda or anything else like that. Because the things he's saying about it, he's saying that in the same way that Metal Gear Solid kind of identified what a stealth like action game was going to look like in 3D, he's saying this game will change what death means in video games. I'm like, what on earth does that mean? And he brought this other thing up that was really weird too. He says that Most games have been about like a stick and like hitting people with a stick, not like actually hitting people with a stick, but like combat,
yeah.
like I'm attacking you. Because this is about ropes.
Yeah.
And tying people together, and I'm like, what the fuck's he talking
Well,
about?
you can see that echoed in that second trailer where Mads Mikkelsen character has those like umbilical cord looking things connected to the other soldiers and stuff, and I was like, ooh, what's gonna happen?
I don't know.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that.
Holden, position me another interrogative.
What's one game? Actually, this one's very much geared towards you. Because you love to platinum games. What's the most time you put into a game that you did not like, and what game was it?
As far as quality of time feeling like it was wasted, the 2 hours that I put into My Name Is Mayo.
What? Is that?
It is a game for the
sequel
PlayStation
to I Am
4.
Bread.
No, it is much worse than that. It is a game for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita. Both have separate trophy lists, so it's 2 platinums.
Oh, so you get both platinums?
I got both platinums.
Oh, man.
But it's literally just a game to exploit a platinum trophy.
Oh,
There's
I know.
a mayo jar in the center of the
this.
screen, and you hit X to tap on the mayo jar, and you do that 10,000 times to get a platinum trophy. There are like very, very, very loose, like, if you tap it 100 times, then the mayo jar can get a guitar that's on top of it, and that like gives you a sentence of story, and there's not really anything in there. But yeah, that was the biggest waste of time that I did. An hour on the PS4 to get that platinum, and an hour on my Vita to get that platinum.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
Yep.
I'm so sorry.
Yep.
I'm actually
have
very
two
impressed.
platinum
You
trophies
hit
now,
the PlayStation button 10,000 times in an hour. That's
10,000 times. Yeah.
Is
I
your
mean,
con-
some of it was actually looking at the screen. Some of it was hitting the X button while I walk to the kitchen, grab a glass of water, make a sandwich, and just the whole time my right hand's going there hitting the X button.
Did you ever like? Did you hurt? Like, did your wrist hurt from mashing that? Do you have carpal tunnel or anything? No.
I
Okay.
did have to switch it up. Sometimes I do it with my thumb, and then sometimes if you take your pointer finger and your middle finger, and you can make it really fast. If you group them together. I did that a few times. You have to switch it up.
Switch it up?
Nintendo switched it.
I can't top that. That's
Switched.
that's
I mean, it was
bad, man.
only 2
Yeah,
hours.
only 2
But
hours
still.
of hitting A or hitting cross. I
Man,
guess.
yeah, that's rough.
What about you, Josh? What game have you put too much time into that you regretted? Or I guess is a bad game you put too much time into?
A bad game I put too much time into.